Hello, startup people. My name is Borys Musielak. I'm a co-founder at ReaktorX. And ReaktorX is an accelerator for first-time founders. And what that means is that we help people who haven't done anything in the startup area before, they're funding their first business, to take it from idea stage to the stage where they can either get their first customers or investors. It's a 10-week program. And we've done the first batch of ReaktorX this year. So I would like to share with you first a few numbers from the first batch of ReaktorX. So we had 10 startups that joined the program in January. 9 of them graduated, so just one fell off. And then 6 are alive now. The graduate day was in April. So half a year later, 6 are still alive and kicking. 3 are either dead or undead or somewhere in between. 3 out of 10 actually raised funding. I'm going to say a few things about that later. And the most important metrics to us, 100% are happy. Or at least they told us they're happy. So it was a success to me. It was the first time we did it. And I would like to, instead of just either bragging or telling you about our methodology, which is probably not super interesting, I would like to show you some of the graduates, some of the people who went through the program, and tell you a bit of their story. And maybe if you find yourself in them somehow, see the connection, you might think maybe you're the right person to apply to the next batch, or maybe not. We'll see. So this is Dominica. Dominica is a physiotherapist. I always get this wrong. She's a physiotherapist. She helps people with back problems not have those problems. And she has no experience with startups whatsoever. So when she applied to ReaktorX, she just knew that she wanted to take physiotherapy to outside of the clinic. She wanted everyone to be able to basically press a button and get a physiotherapist at their home. She had no clue how to do it. And no team and no technical knowledge. And here is Arek. And Arek also applied to ReaktorX with a completely different idea called iSpaces. We really liked Arek. We didn't like the idea. We still accepted Arek because we thought there was something that, he can deliver something good. So after a few days in ReaktorX, we took a long shot. So the long shot was, let's connect them together, hopefully with Dominica's expert knowledge in the domain and with Arek's knowledge from previous startup experience building SaaS marketplaces, maybe it makes sense for them to work together. And it kind of did a pretty good job. They actually had some problems in the beginning trying to figure out the business model and stuff, but they've graduated the program. If you have been at Reaktor birthday party this summer, they were actually massaging people all around. So they're doing pretty well. And they're currently raising funding, so if there's any investors, I would like to recommend you to talk to them. There's a different story with those guys. Yeah, they're always so happy. So Mendim and Erblim have been doing a lot of businesses before, but they haven't done any startup. So they've been mostly, they're based in Kosovo, in Pristina, and they've been working as a software house for a number of Western European companies. They're a developer and a designer. As you can see, the guy with the better taste is a designer. Hope they were not watching this. They applied pretty randomly. They learned about ReaktorX reading an article at TechCrunch. Thank you, John Biggs, for that article, by the way. But they didn't know anything about it, so it was us convincing them, more like them convincing us to actually join. And there was a few issues with actually getting them here. Like one issue is that Kosovo, it's technically not a country. So we had no clue how to actually get them here and get them a visa. Fortunately, thanks to the help of the startup ecosystem, especially Eliza Kruczkowska, who connected us to the Polish Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and also the great guys at the ministry, they shortened the visa wait from, I think, 3 months to 3 days, and got them on time to join the program. The second problem was that they had no money. So, Poland is actually a pretty rich country, and the prices are pretty expensive, like if you compare it to the rest of the world. So for guys from Kosovo, it wasn't that easy to come here and rent a place for 3 months. So what we did is I started cold calling randomly a number of angel investors here in Warsaw, and fortunately we found a good soul, and that's Arek Regiec, who basically threw his money at them, saying, yeah, let's just take a risk, they seem good. I trust you, Borys, that you're not gonna, take this money and run away, and they didn't. And that's how we got them here in Poland. It was a heck of an effort, but it was worth it. They actually won the best startup after the demo day of ReaktorX, and they really worked hard. So this was a super hard-working team. Currently, they're waiting to be listed at BizFund, which is a crowdfunding website. They'll be fundraising about 100K USD on the platform, hopefully this fall. And they're coming here in next month, so you can meet them again in Poland. Hopefully, they get a visa again. And this is Casper, who is somewhere here as well. Yeah. Over here. A completely different story as well. I met Casper probably like a year before we started applications for ReaktorX. He came to Reaktor to talk to us about his business, which wasn't struggling. It was already kind of a product. It was a Bitcoin lending marketplace. But he didn't really see a way to get this going on a bigger scale. So he was looking for ways to take it from a nice job that he made for himself to something way bigger. Casper is a lone wolf, so he always works alone, and that was an issue. So one of the things we tried to do is to get him together with some other people. That's why here comes Olaf. Olaf actually worked at Microsoft and quit the job to join ReaktorX with an idea that we thought makes sense, but after 2 or 3 weeks of the program, we already knew it's probably too early for the idea. So he tried to get to basically kill Skype with virtual reality. So he tried to take conferences to the virtual reality so that everyone wears those weird helmets and talk to each other in a big corporate space. This seems like a cool idea. After a few validation attempts, it turned out that it's way too early from the hardware perspective, and from the basically VR is not big enough to make this big. So Casper get a gig to Olaf. He hired him to do some random stuff on blockchain. It was just an idea that he was testing, and for some reason we saw that they started working with each other. And working more and seeing, here in Reaktor, talking to each other. At some point, they told me that they're running a new business together. And the new business is called Boson Identities. They got accepted to Huge Think. They got an investment from Huge Think Accelerator. I think they just graduated today, so congrats. So they went through the whole pre-acceleration and then the actual acceleration program. And now they're joining forces. Getline and Boson. Getline is doing here it is. Getline is doing an ICO next month. ICO means you're getting shitload of money in Bitcoin or in Ethereum to cover your startup and do not talk to the VCs. So if you're interested in investing, that's probably a good idea. I'm putting some of my own money here too, so I hope the guys deliver. So that's the 3 stories of ReaktorX founders. There's more, but I don't have time for that. There's Maxim here, who's doing pretty well as well, so you can talk to him later. So I would like to tell you a bit more about our edge, like competitive edge. I mean, what do we do better than others? So I could tell you we are different than other acceleration programs, and that we have better mentors who are super committed to our startups and who are super important people to know, or that our network is really big, so we can intro you to anyone in the ecosystem. And of course, those all would be true, but when I did some intellectual kind of process of trying to understand what we are really good at, this came to my mind. We're nice people. We really care. It's true. I mean, you know. So we really do care. So we, like, you know, like I'm serious now. I mean, we're not doing this because we want to be rich and famous, right? We're already rich and famous. We're doing this because we want to help startups. We believe that there is a strong need to getting those people from a very early stage when no one wants to really invest in them. They don't yet have a product. They just have a good idea and a lot of, you know, commitment to work on it hard, to the next level, to the level when they can get funded, when they can get customers, and they can get to a real accelerator. So we thought there is a big gap in the market, especially targeting, you know, students, people who are just new to this system, or people like Dominica who basically didn't have any contacts in the startup ecosystem, to get them up to speed in 10 weeks. Does it always work? Nah. But at least, I mean, it doesn't work for different reasons. I mean, it might be too early, it might be too late. Your product might just not have a proper customer base. You might be a problem, we might be a problem, we might not be right for you. But what I can, you can be sure of one fact. So like in 10 weeks, you're going to know either it makes sense or it doesn't make sense. So how I think of a program is that it accelerates your either success or failure. Life is pretty short, so if you can do something in 10 weeks that you normally would take 10 months or even more, and I've seen people trying to validate their ideas for more than a year, I think it's worth it. I think it's just worth to commit to this for a while and kind of do all the stress testing to see if your idea, if the thing that you're thinking of is worth investing time in. And that's what we really are here for. We help you achieve that. And if you think you're ready for this adventure, to jump with us on this bandwagon, I don't think there is an expression like that, but anyway, you still have time to apply. We are launching our second batch this winter. So by October the 11th, you have time to apply to the program. And you can learn everything on the ReaktorX website. So good luck with that. Oh, one more thing, of course. Beyoncé. Yeah, I mean, she has to be here, right? Some more Beyoncé. I just put her because I really like her, you know. She's also swimming in dough, like money, which is cool. No, she's swimming in dough. And I think basically what I'm trying to say is that we'll all be swimming in dough very soon. I'm serious. You might not imagine that, but we will. We'll be swimming in money. PFR and Sabayer is actually funding VCs with billions of USD. There's 2 or 3 billion of USD for VCs to invest in startups over the next 4 years. It's probably about 10 times more than VCs have been investing in startups during the last 4 years, which means there will be a shitload of money and not many startups to invest in, which means it's probably the best time ever to launch a startup in Poland. I mean, if you've been thinking of this crazy idea for a while that you didn't think it's going to make sense or you don't know if it's going to make sense, but you really want to do it, I mean, have the guts to do it now, because if you don't do it now, it might not be a better time to do it. So that's what I'm trying to kind of leave you with. This is really the best time to launch a startup in Poland. So joining an acceleration program like ours puts you in a really good situation, because you graduate about January, where all the VCs already are going to have a lot of cash. So it's going to be a really good situation for you to start pitching with a product that you've already validated. A lot of startups will come to those guys without a validation, with just some ideas, MVP. You're going to already have a validation. If it makes sense, you will get funded. I can assure you, you will get funded if you have any traction in the product. So it just makes a lot of sense to do it now. So again, apply to ReaktorX, and good luck. Any questions? I'm going to take them. Anyone needs to know more?
So how does your program work? What do you do during those 10 weeks?
Yeah, the hard part. So I think the biggest differentiator in the program is that you got a mentor at the very beginning who is your kind of teacher. He's a one-on-one mentor with who you meet every week. And it's one of the guys who, there is a number of those people. Some of them did IPOs in Poland, like Michał Jaskulski with Knockout and Morizon. Some of them have been serial entrepreneurs and have made a lot of money on startups. Some of them have been working both in corporate world and the startup world, but we don't have random people as mentors. So this is all either entrepreneurs or venture capitalists and angel investors, like Zbyszek here, who has just joined our crew. So that's one kind of differentiating part. The second part is that we invite a number of experts on workshops, which are not presentations. It's more like a workshop with you to work on your product. So there is a legal workshop. When you ask questions to the lawyer, you get free, like an hour to talk to the lawyer about your particular issues. Same with product design, same with customer development. Basically all the stuff you need to go through from an idea to something that you can sell to either customers or investors. So that's the second part. The third part is the networking aspect, which I think is pretty huge. So last demo day, we managed to get 100 VCs, angels, and representatives of different corporations to join and to watch those guys, those 9 graduates speak. And I think this is like really the best time to show your startup. You're not gonna strike a deal on those events, but they're gonna get to know you. You have to take advantage of all those opportunities that we give you so that you connect with the right people. And those people who took advantage, who actually did the work and did the were not shy and actually started talking to those guys, they benefiting a lot. So they're already after those 9 weeks, you can 10 weeks, sorry, you can get from someone who's totally unknown in the ecosystem to someone who's seen as an expert in an area, whatever area it is, like blockchain, physiotherapy, doing stuff with clean energy and stuff like that. So I think this is just a big opportunity. We're not gonna work for you, That's not gonna happen. You still need to work as hard as you can. But I think it's a proper acceleration, so you can do things way quicker than you would normally do if you did this all by yourself. So that's my pitch for ReaktorX.
But you said it's a best moment to set up a startup in Poland. Does it mean that it's only for companies established in Poland, or it can be a company from abroad to get to ReaktorX?
To get to ReaktorX, pretty flexible, I think. I don't think we need to be set up in Poland. You need to sign some contracts with us because there is some equity. We take 1% of equity and 1% goes to the advisor, to your kind of startup advisor, one of the mentors. But that's just the papers. It can be anywhere in the EU. And as for the next investment from the PFR money or the NCBR money, you need to be based in the EU. It doesn't have to be Poland, but there are some, depending on which program, there is Starter, there is a number of different programs where VCs take money from. Some of them require you to do some activity in Poland, like either have a subsidiary in Poland or have a dev work or even have sales or have activity as in customers in Poland that you serve. So there is some, it's not black and white, but best be in Poland or at least be in EU.
How is the validation done? Is it market validation or is it peer validation?
Yeah, one of the inspirations for this program was actually the fact that I've seen too many developers, programmers who've been basically working on great ideas that they thought are super important and they're beneficial to them and their friends, without taking into account that this product might be for a completely different target group and they haven't talked to any customers. So, my kind of big thing here is that you don't really need to develop a lot during the program. It would be great to have an MVP, but the much more important part is that you start with first understanding who your customers are, what you're trying to produce, and what your actual problem you're solving is, and what's your solution. What's the value proposition for you? So this is the first exercises that we do over the first workshops, kind of like business model canvas, and then customer validation. And then it comes, you need to prove that you've talked to enough customers, and you need to show what kind of feedback you're getting from those customers. We would not let you start, developing some kind of product if you haven't got those. And if you get really negative feedback, you do what Olaf did, or you either pivot, or you join another startup, or you basically, acknowledge that this wasn't the thing. That's one potential outcome of the program. It's better to fail very fast as opposed to just, working on that for half a year or a year and then fail. So we're trying you so we put a lot of emphasis on that, and the first 3 workshops are mostly about those things. And some sales as well. And then you do product development, UX, and if you're already on a stage where it makes sense to build a product.
Hi, how do you match the mentors to the startups? I mean, whether a mentor is from IT field and the startup is from IT field, do you match them that way, or there is another way you do that?
So we have mentors from different fields. Most of them are former entrepreneurs, so and they usually do very different things. So, just to give you a few examples, we have, for example, Ania Walkowska, who is an expert in basically anything related to the housing market, plus anything design, like house design wise. So she's been doing a startup that way. She knows a lot of people there. So if you're doing anything related to those markets, she'll be able to help. And she wants to work with those kind of startups. There are some people who are more there's Tomasz Kolinko, who's a hacker, and he's a blockchain, person. Basically, he knows everything about that. So he'll be probably best to help, in those areas. But there's we also have people who are VCs who are basically, do not focus on one specific area, but they can help you on a different level. And how we match them, this is one obvious way of matching, but there needs to be a connection between the startup and this is a person you're gonna spend a lot of time with, and this is a person who you will be kind of frank with, I'm not gonna say that startups are not frank with other people, but I'm gonna say that actually. So I just said it. But you need some people who you're actually honest with, and you talk about your actual progress, what your struggles are, and this is the guy or girl who you talk to. So there needs to be a lot of connection. You need to enjoy spending time together. So the idea is that before even starting the program, we do a very private pitching. Here, all the startups that got accepted to the program have a very quick pitch, and they talk in the roundtables with all the mentors that are the one-to-one mentors, and then everyone kind of tells us who they want to work with, both the mentors and the founders, and then we trying to do our best to connect them together, and it worked. But we can do better. So we did some mistakes in the first batch, not being fast enough, but we've learned on that, and we're gonna you will not start the program without a lead mentor. So that's our approach to this. I really believe that mentoring is one of the crucial parts, because I've seen a lot of accelerators who accept, for example, 30 startups, 40 startups, and they just don't have time for those startups. Either the founders of the startups or the mentors are just meeting them once in a while. They don't keep track of the progress. They're not really emotionally engaged, and by forcing you to give 1% of your shares of a startup, which aren't worth nothing in the beginning, but anyway, to the advisor, and also by basically connecting you together to be your kind of model to work with, I think that kind of bonds you guys together, and I think it just makes sense to do something like that.
What are the fees or your shares that you're taking for joining the program?
So a reactor, we take 1% of your stock, and the advisor takes another 1% of his stock, and the program cost is 2K PLN. It's not enough for us to cover this. This is basically enough to kind of be break even, more or less. That's why I'm sad we're not doing this to be rich and famous. But it's we thought of not charging startups before, but our idea was that if you actually put some money, you're more serious. It's not big money. It's like 2K. It's nothing for this kind of program and for this kind of benefits that we do. But I just believe that it makes it kind of commits you to the startup. We can negotiate. We've done some other deals like more shares and less money, or the other way around. But this is the kind of standard that we start with.
What kind of commitment do you require from participants? Do you need them to quit their daily jobs, or is it possible to go through the program working part-time on the startup?
Ideally, full commitment. If you are serious about your idea and if you really want to, do something big with this, I believe you should commit fully to your startup. We've seen that the most successful startups that we had, that I shared some of them with you in this presentation, committed full time to their startup. That doesn't mean they couldn't do any like side jobs, but those were side jobs to the startup, not startup being a side job to your actual job. So I would say it's possible to launch a startup while working for someone else. I actually did that myself, so I'm a proof that it's possible for a while to keep doing this. But it's very rare to be successful when working for someone else, because we've seen that with a number of participants in the first batch. Those were the guys, and mostly guys, who basically just were exhausted all the time. If you have both a job and a startup and a family, not possible. If you have two, if you're really committed and you work all weekends on your startups and all evenings on your startup, possible, but really hard. So that's your choice. We don't have a preference, but we do have a preference for full time. But we believe you can also achieve it working for someone else, but that needs full commitment. We need to understand that you're really committed to this and you want to change your job just when you see that this is going to it's going to make sense. Talk to Maxim, who have been working for a company and doing this, and he's the only one who was actually successful in doing this. Okay, thank you very much, and I'll be somewhere in the garage, so if you want to grab me for a talk, do this. Thanks.